Action. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Millionaire Mac Club YouTube channel. This is another edition of the Millionaire Mac Talk. Today, I have some really dope people on the line. Really dope people. I got Ethan Anderson, the owner of Exert Performance, as my co-host. I have my college assistant coach, Patrick Adelman, also head coach of Lincoln High School. And I have the up-and-coming Sam Whiteley, a stand-up comedian that's on the rise, that also has a podcast that's revolved around Oregon State basketball called the Peyton Years. So today's gonna be a great combo. So let's get straight into it. I know Big E wanted to let y'all in on a little info he's got coming in, so I'll let E take the stage real quick.
Yeah, man. I just kind of want to drop a little shameless promo. I'm launching Exert Lifestyle, which is a lifestyle brand that'll be coming up next week. So, we'll have a little bit more info for you guys in the upcoming shows with. And hear a little bit more about him.
Let's see. I played at Lake Oswego. That's where Sam went for a year. Before that, I was at Granite Bay High School, which was kind of a football factory. I think within the 4-year class that I was in, they had 8 NFL players. I think 3 of them have won Super Bowls. And then went to Lake-O. We were ranked number 1 in the nation for a while. Sam, you were doing the commentating, weren't you?
I was calling a lot of those games. Yeah, not the big ones. Those would be on like local television. But yeah, I watched you guys beat Putnam by 70 quite a bit.
Yeah, that was sweet. I mean, we traveled down to California, played Modern Day. We traveled to Minnesota, traveled to LA and played. Played Compton, beat them bad. I mean, we were traveling everywhere. It was sweet. It was like a high school AAU team. And then I went to Chemeketa where James is going playing, and then played at William Jessup University. And then after that, I coached at Willamette University for a year, and then was the head coach at Thurston for a year, and then head coach at Lincoln for I think 5 years, and then now I'm at Chemeketa.
Right. Sam, you want to give us a little bio on you?
For sure, yeah. So like Pat said, I went to Lake Oswego too, and we got to know each other just a little bit during Pat's senior year. I'm a grade behind him, and now like you guys gave a great intro. I'm you can catch me in Portland and around everywhere, I guess, doing stand up. I've been doing that the last 3 or 4 years now, but before that I actually coached with Pat when he was at Lincoln High School for several years.
That's awesome. So how long have you been in you said 3 years. 3 or 4 years doing stand up, but were you always like the class clown, always the funny kid?
I mean, a little bit. I try not to take shit too seriously. I get uncomfortable when I have to do that. I mean, Pat will tell you, I think when I coached with him, that even when I did try to be very serious, kids would usually end up laughing at me, which is frustrating at times, but it also tells you something, hopefully.
Right.
Now, my favorite part would be I'd be coaching the varsity guys. We had to share a gym, and Sam, I would just be talking to him. And out of nowhere, because they all loved Sam. So, and then out of nowhere, Sam, he's coaching JV kids, and half those kids don't have any idea what they're doing. And he'd be like getting on them, and I would stop talking. We'd all just watch it, and then I would just turn around and, man, Sam's on him today, and the kids would just start laughing.
Well, because even as a coach, like when your coaches start kind of snapping on you, they end up unintentionally saying funny stuff anyways.
Right.
So, I can only imagine what those speeches are like, man.
No, I had an experience like that this year with Coach A, our head coach. Like, I've heard all these legends. He's this big, yelling, screaming, mad guy. And we hadn't seen it all year besides one game. We came out slow. This man comes in the locker room yelling crazy, and I'm trying my hardest to stay serious. Like, I'm still hearing everything he's saying, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I just have like a little giggle, like, come on, coach. Like, you know, we're about to laugh this off after we get this dub. Like, you know, you don't want to be yelling, man.
No, well, how about when so we're up, like, I don't know how much, we're up like 9 against whoever we were playing, and we get a steal, and one of our better scorers, Kobe, who's psycho quiet. Remember Kobe on Sprague, Sam, the redhead kid, younger kid?
Oh, sure, yeah, he killed us.
So he gets a steal in transition, and nobody's in the gym, but it's on huddle, and so Coach A is screaming at him, pull it out, run the offense. And I kid you not, like, me, Coach Willie are standing up. I'm like, I go quiet because I'm looking at him, and I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to pull it up. He's going to shoot this. And he freezes, glances at the bench, and then fires it up. and it's dead quiet, and Coach goes, God damn it. And like, nobody's like in shock. The whole bench is dying laughing. Like, Coach Willie has to sit down. I'm grabbing him. Like, Kieran probably fell over. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was hilarious. But I mean, that in my opinion, that tells you about like how much we like at least respect him. It's because nobody was like downtrodden about it. We just thought it was hilarious.
Right. It was. I need to figure out a way to edit that clip of him yelling. That was comedy gold. Like, it was the way that he glanced at him and then shot it still, and all of us start cracking jokes. Oh my, that
I don't
moment.
know, man. I feel like I would have lost it. I would have lost it if somebody did. Like, if my kid did that in a game.
So even
what is happening to you? It's funny for everybody except you, kind of.
Yeah.
So true. Dude,
even
our athletic director was dying laughing. Like, it was bad.
That's crazy. No, our JUCO coach, one time we were actually winning this game, and at halftime he gave us like this like goal, like, oh, don't let them score. I think it was more than like, it was like 30 points or something like that. So we went in at halftime. They had 31 points, and this is how I know he already like had this plan anyways. His whole thing, like, he's yelling at us about how like we all think we're cool and all this other stuff. And he's like, I'm gonna show you what cool is, and pulls out all the old jerseys from the 80s. And so so second half, we all had to go out with like these like these high cut shorts, like these super tight jerseys.
No.
I just remember coming out at halftime, like the whole crowd. It was like just this like deafening silence, and all you can hear is the ball bouncing, and then one dude just starts laughing, and it was fucking over from there, bro. I was like, why is this so unnecessary, man?
Teaching points, man. Teaching points, I guess.
It was 1 point, man. It was one. They scored 31. Our goal was 30. Like, come on, man, let it slide.
Right. So that actually that made me think of a question that I got for all three of y'all, really, since all y'all are coaches. What was it like, you know, throughout the course of life, we're constantly finding ourselves, finding our personality, finding who we are. So, Coach Pat, you want to start us off? Like, what was it like finding your personality in coaching?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the hardest part as a coach is finding your voice. You know, what works for you and what kind of resonates with the guys. You know, what because each guy's different, how you reach each kid and all that stuff. And in my opinion, you have to be able to adapt and adjust to each kid. Right. You know, everybody responds differently. And I was lucky enough, you know, I grew up in a family of coaches. My pops was a coach. My brothers were a coach. My sister's a coach. And I got into it really early, where I think my first time I was coaching, my sister Kathy, who coaches at Jesuit, she's probably one of the best girls coaches here in the state of Oregon. She had me at the age of 12 coach her varsity team during a camp. And you're talking about 18-year-old girls and I'm teaching them like the post up form and how to seal and all that stuff, and like they were taking it all seriously, but at the same time they were kind of laughing because they're like this little kid's teaching us how to post, and my sister Kathy's like looking at them like expecting them to learn and all this stuff, and so but that really helped, and you just learned with trial and error, I think, and because I think as the years have gone on, if you aren't sure of yourself and you aren't confident of yourself, guys read that right away. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't about the guys, especially with all the workout guys that are around now and all the guys who you can kind of tell are just trying to get along for themselves instead of for the kids. Kids read through that so quickly. I mean, it's awesome. They should, and I always think about somebody who Sam and I coached, which was Rashid. I don't know if you agree with that, Sam, but like Rashid, I mean, if somebody came in the gym and was just talking, he was the one that would look at you like, no, who is this clown? Like, because he'd been through it, been through enough guys and seen enough dishonesty where it was like, if he wasn't part of our class or our group, he didn't want to hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trial and error. What about you, Sam? What helped you find your identity in coaching?
So for me, I mean, I always knew I couldn't be someone that took myself too seriously, even if I took the game or whatever, the practice or whatever we're doing itself too seriously. I knew I couldn't look at myself that way because I was not much of a player. I played through the first part of high school. I don't think I made it past like JV2 or, B team stuff. And so I always tried to be very approachable, very, someone that the kids thought was funny. And just learned as much as I could that like not everybody is going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's not everything's the best fit, but when you can get with a group that really like you and buys into what you're doing the way the 2018 team did at Lincoln. They were obviously very talented too, but it was just a great fit with Pat and I and Coach Joe and Elliot and guys like Rashid and Bryce Sloan, who we had known a couple years at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Sam, the one thing Sam, the guys knew that he genuinely loved and cared about them. Right. And, they knew that for a fact. Like it wasn't a question. And, I think I still wish I could have been a part of some of those rides that you gave those kids rides home, meter rides, because I'm sure with Maximilian Weisselflog and Quentin and Rashid, that's an interesting mix of kids that they all loved each other.
Yeah.
Talked very comfortably with one another from very different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a statute of limitations, but those rides I was getting, and those are unofficial because apparently I wasn't supposed to be doing that. But those are my guys. I'm not making them take the bus.
There's always such weird rules around that. I don't get it.
That's another reason why I could never do like the high school coaching, man. Like, because obviously, like, you want to help, every kid that you possibly can, and there's just so many. I don't know. There's so many weird like bylaws and stuff with coaching high school. It's tough, man.
Right. So Sam, with the interesting thing when you said you're not everybody's cup of tea, how does that relate to going up on stage and you're about to do a little stand-up set, knowing that you may know some people in the crowd, but some people just don't know you and maybe the jokes won't land? So how do you like mentally prepare like that?
Just by doing it. I mean, it's still a scary thing, especially anytime you do it in a surrounding that you're not as familiar with. And obviously, like, doing it for strangers is scary. But in a way, it's like, especially, I try to think that I'm still relatively new at this. In a way, it's easier to do it in front of people you're never going to see again than friends of yours that you don't want to look stupid in front of.
Do do you ever get to a point? I mean, obviously, like you love your craft and what you do, but do you ever just get to a point like halfway through a set where you're just like it maybe stuff isn't landing and you're just like, man, F it. Like I'm just gonna go balls to the wall and just like kind of go all out with it, like because I love stand up comedy. Like I listen to stand up comedy all the time, but I just know I could never. I don't have the balls to do it. Like I think I care too much about people's opinions.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a tolerance you build up to it for sure. I mean, like I remember when I very first started, you just go sign up at open mics, and it's usually like 3 minutes, and like they give you a light, like someone just on their phone, probably when you've got 1 minute left, and like thinking it was so hard to get it through 2 minutes. Like most of the time, not even like getting to where I was getting the light. You just like the more you do it, the faster it goes, kind of, and the more fun you can have with it. But yeah, sometimes it's just like it feels like time is moving at half speed.
Yeah.
Oh man, I couldn't even like imagine. No, somebody asked me the other day. They're like, if you could do anything on the show America's Got Talent, what would it be? Like, what would be your best shot at winning? I was like, I can't really sing. I can't really dance. I guess, like, if I really sat down and wrote out some jokes, that'd be my best bet. But even then, I don't think I'd be good enough. Like I don't feel like my story presentation is to where it needs to be to win that type. I don't know. I
Right.
find it so impressive.
Do you Sam? Do you have like a process or a method to kind of what you do? I mean, I know there's like a lot of structure to jokes, or is it just kind of like you? Because just in talking to you even before this, like even just like your cadence, you just are one of those people who's just like funny for no apparent reason. So, but is there a lot of like structure that goes into that too, or what's your process kind of like?
I mean, both. Like you watch other people that you enjoy and try to share without taking anything from them, obviously, but you want to just like try to share things in common with those people. And yeah, I mean, when I started, I didn't know what shit like cadence meant, but yeah, learning more about those things definitely helps. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just try to think of stuff. It's like when I think of things that are funny, I just try to commit them to memory and go say them for strangers later and try it out.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I had a friend of mine too that was doing stand up, and I remember like the first year he did it, it was, and we've been friends honestly since like sixth grade, right? So like, I mean I know the guy pretty well, but when he started doing stand up, he like felt this like crazy pressure to be funny all the time, and then it just kind of got to a point where like we had to have like a comedy intervention and be like, bro, relax, like just be normal, like you're just as normal. Not everything has to have like a punchline, man. Like I don't know. Have
Right.
you ever felt that kind of extra pressure to be that guy?
Oh yeah, no. So I think that's why a lot of comics that do it quite a bit, like their only friends really that they see are other comics, because that's not for everybody. That constant need to punch something up or get a laugh out of everything.
Yeah.
That's interesting. See, like I would have never even thought of something like that. But like if you think about it, a lot of the times, like in the grand scheme of like life, like a lot of times we'll try to be so solid in who we are or who we were. We'll always try to be that person when that's not who we need to be in that timetable. And that's where things really get tricky. That's where things really, really get tricky. To trying to be someone that you're not in that moment. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is, the one thing I love kicking with Sam, he's so low key. Like he like I don't mean to speak for him, but I don't think he's the biggest fan of big groups, and so it's like I like that, and he's just naturally funny. Like I just find myself dying laughing when he's just talking, and
Right.
and I think that's the most impressive thing about him is he's just naturally funny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's kind of that's interesting though too. Is like because I think if you ask most people like who they are, their first response is always what they do. You know what I mean? And so I found myself even like when I first started out coaching and like training and all that stuff because for years I was, like I played ball. And so like everybody that I was kind of close to outside of like my family, like my immediate family, just defined me as like a basketball player and then now a basketball coach. And so I literally had to compartmentalize like my own life and just be like, yo, like these basketball conversations and hours, like stop like here. I don't, you don't, we're not talking about that. We're not, I don't even want to deal with it or think about it. But obviously like that's just at a certain, at a certain level. How being a college coach, Pat, how do you kind of balance that? Because I know your guys' hours are pretty long.
Yeah, I mean it's hard, it's and I'm looking at it like just learning from it. It's just interesting. It's like people don't understand the hours of it. Where it's like, I've been invited to weddings and stuff, and
Yeah.
that I have to turn down because it's like I can't our season's so long and like being the head of recruiting, like it kind of never stops. And so it's like, like I got to work out on Sunday and somebody wants me to go hang out and I got to cancel because, the gym's available at a certain time. It's hopefully that they understand. But, and that's something I'm learning, like personally, like I kind of realize as I've gotten older, I spent my whole life, whether it was college or high school, just kicking it with athletes and kind of entering into the real world where you don't know who's ever played sports or you're meeting somebody for the first time and they kind of just function differently, and
Yeah.
you're just learning that about people. Like we'll play a game like, cornhole or something and I'm semi-competitive and so I'll be like kind of joshing around, talking trash a little bit and I can kind of tell the other person's like, holy smokes, this guy's taking it seriously when really I'm just messing around, but realizing like, they're from a little bit of a different cloth. So I'm just like kind of curbing that a little bit. So, it's interesting. I think everybody goes through their own process of learning, from and adjusting to what life ends up becoming.
Exactly. That's I've been in so many of those situations, like just playing like cornhole or ping pong, and you just like crack a little competitive joke. Why are you taking it so serious? What do you mean? I was just trying to make it a little more fun. I was just trying to make it a little more fun. But honestly, like from my perspective, like growing up an athlete, like it's so easy to get caught in, like you'll see this with a lot of student athletes where they'll adopt the mind frame of I'm an athlete student. Like I'm only in school to hoop. I'm only in school to play soccer. I'm only la 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 la. And then as soon as their sport is ended, say they have a bad injury or say they weren't good enough to get recruited or didn't get the opportunity to get recruited, then all of a sudden it's a big spiral in life. And all of a sudden they're on top of the world, have structure with their sports teams to figuring out who they are. And oftentimes, I don't know, it's kind of a crappy thing. You see a lot of places like as soon as we're good at one thing or as soon as we have an interest in one thing, it's easy to get stuck in that box. Like it's you're kind of like frowned upon for exploring or being mediocre in 7 different things. They're like, no, just be good at this one thing. But maybe that one thing doesn't burn your fire out all the time. So, like Sam, for you, since you're in the stand-up and in the basketball community, is it like refreshing to have maybe like let's just label it easy, like multiple personalities that you can like multiple personality buckets you can dip into? Like what's that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, like I would like if there were more time in the day and all that, I would do more coaching because it's so hard to be into two things that require all of your time really if you want to excel at them. But yeah, like it's funny. Like there was a time when I was kind of trying to do both, and like I would always miss the one. Like when I was coaching, I would miss stand up, and when I was doing that and getting on stage more, I would miss being around the kids and being closer to the game and not just watching it on TV and whatever. And so that's kind of the challenge of, like you said, I don't want it to be just okay at two things. I want to be really good at one, and so it can be tough to choose, but it's definitely cool to be a part of like two different scenes a little bit.
And do you find yourself having to because I know some people naturally just adjust to the atmosphere seamlessly and smoothly. Do you ever find a challenge not mixing the two cups of tea or mixing the two different types of personalities?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, like you said, I mean, like when I try to make jokes out of as much as I can, and when you're a little closer to coaching, that can be effective, but also it maybe isn't, might distract from the point a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. No, I remember, like, even for me, when I stopped playing, like, I went through a solid 2 years because mine was just kind of really abrupt. You know what I mean? Like, 1 second I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm signing this contract to go over and play in China. Next second, like, you know, I'm having a kid, which I'm very grateful
Right.
for. Don't get me wrong, but like it just all like it went from, me like being this like I tied my whole self worth into like what I could do with a basketball to like, okay, now you don't have that because you're staying home. You know what I mean, to raise your child. So like what else is there? And it's funny, that's like around the time that I met you, James, and that's why I think I tried to pour so much into you guys, because it was like, dude, you don't understand. Like, that's why I always talk to you guys about more than just basketball, because you don't understand what it feels like to go through like a really dark period because you had tied so much of like your self-worth to this game, like a literal child's game. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a really, you have to find it for yourself, but there is a way to balance and put enough time in to be great at something, but also still explore like other avenues of your personality, bro. Like great recording artists, and like I think like Pharrell and people like that, like they have legitimate like business hours, or it's like, yo, I work from here to here, and like you have to kind of structure your day around that, so that kind of helps you to like you said, transition from one thing to the next without getting everything too like, I don't know, intertwined.
I try to do the same thing, man. Like I'm still learning based off the recruiting stuff because this is my first year. Well, I did it at Willamette, but it was totally different. You're recruiting kids who can afford it and hold the GPA, so you're kind of the amount of kids you can get is pretty limited. And at Shemeka, it's different. You're looking at so many different kids. It's a little more competitive, but like, eventually I hope to find when is the right time? Because I did it at Lincoln when I was coaching. Like a certain time of the day, I treated the cell phone like it was a home phone, except I put it on silent. You have to, so you have that time for yourself and what you enjoy, what your hobbies are, and like my dad, the one thing I always respected is my dad had an owner who he didn't have, obviously he's a billionaire and totally different, but like, it's like a life goal of mine to have those parameters where the dude didn't have a cell phone. He didn't have an internet email account. He wrote letters. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get that that's an extreme, but like these phones, sometimes I look at them and I'm like, yo, like, you know, and people expect you to like respond right away, but at the same time, like I kind of respected the days of our parents where it was like, yo, you got to call their home phone, leave a message, and then you got to be that guy that calls again who's already left a message. You know what I mean? Like, no, like, because you know, and that's I think to your point, that's so important to have that balance of, especially when you have a family. Like I don't have a family yet, but I do know it's got to change. Like, 'cause there's so much more important, especially when that family rolls in.
No, honestly, I had a recent experience with the setting office hours thing ever since I started the Millionaire Mac Club, because like I was getting to a point where I was like so consumed with it, like putting in countless hours during the day, and like I didn't even feel like I was a young person anymore, and it kind of took the fun and the why out of what I was doing, and kind of made it like it just made it, obviously it's a money producer, but it made it a job in terms of, oh, I have to go do this, not I get to do this. And like I feel like what helped me get through that is like being a yes man. So like if my friend, and really COVID really showed me this. Like when my friends asked me like, hey bro, you want to go do this? I'll, if it doesn't intervene with what I already have planned, then I'll try to say yes, like all the time. Hey, you want to go bowling? Yes, bet. Hey, you want to go to the lake? Even though I don't like the lake, yes, let's do it. Like you just catch yourself in, like really cool situations, and you're going into it with no expectation. And when there's no expectation, there's infinite possibilities. So then so much goodness can come out from you being spontaneous. Why can't I?
Spontaneous, man.
Spontaneous. There we go.
Yeah.
I was trying to add a suffix to the end, but you can't be. I lost it again. Help me out.
Try to turn the TI in the middle of your
Right.
sentence and add extra syllables.
Right, trying to make it plural.
So, y'all catch my drift. So what I know you guys are like a little more seasoned than me. So what is it like trying to keep some spontaneity in your life when you have more responsibilities, more heavy weighing responsibilities?
I mean, I'll let one of you guys go. I know, like, I'm not the most spontaneous person, so like, my wife can attest to that. But like, now, and honestly, man, for me, it's just finding like those, like finding enjoyment and like little moments. You know what I'm saying? Like, even like right now, like I'm literally just sitting by the pool, like chilling. You know, like those are the things. Like, the older I get, the more I value like my peace, because I think when I was younger, yeah, like, you know, somebody asked me to party or go do something, like at the drop of the dime, I'm like, yep, let's go. You know what I mean? But now it's just like, nah, man, I just want to chill. Like, that's it. I can chill anywhere, but like, it doesn't matter as long as I'm like around the right people or whatever, man. Just I try and find value in that.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Like being friends with a lot of people that do comedy helps me just to like, because if I'm left on my own, I just want to chill too. But like, so it's cool to have people in your life that are like you were saying, Ethan, like let's go to the lake or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When honestly, like I don't really feel like it, but and I would, if it were me, I wouldn't. But like since my friends are doing it, like take the opportunity to do something different with your free time besides what you have to do.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm kind of, I think coming to, like, for me, kind of coming to terms with being cool with what it is you want to do. You know, if it's chilling, you know, being, you know, and chilling, being chill with that, being cool with that. Like, yo, I like being a little more low key. But then when that spontaneous situation does arise, it kind of makes it even more special. You're like, yeah, sure, I'll go do it. And you walk, like you said, you walk into it with zero expectations. You know, you're meeting people you don't know, and you don't, you know, you don't expect anything to materialize from it. That's what I think makes it kind of cool. I think when we're all younger, you know, we kind of force it. At least I did. You know, everybody, whenever anybody wanted to do something, you do it.
Right.
You know, just kind of chill. But as you get older, you realize you pick and choose, and you just kind of become more comfortable in your own skin and what you like to do.
I like that.
It's funny. It's funny that, like, James, you were saying, like, yeah, whenever, like, somebody, like, asks, you know, if they want to go do something, like, you know, you want to try and go do something spontaneous too, and, like, you're just opening yourself up to new experiences. And I literally just, like, I was just made a video last night on, like, the power of, like, no. And, like, that's what, like, I'm just at the phase in my life where I'm at. Like, that's the thing that I'm starting to find that's been, like, kind of liberating. Because before, like, I feel like I was always just trying to, like, please people. And so I would put myself in situations where it's like, you know, because sometimes you can be spontaneous and you're like, yeah, I'll go. And then you get there and you're like, bro, why did I just waste 2 hours? And just, like, I don't even like any of these people like that. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, just finding, like, that, like, learning how to set, like, boundaries, like, for myself and in my own life. And, like, if I don't want to do it, because nobody ever asks you, like, hey, do you want to help me out? It's always like, hey, can you help me out? And it's like, yeah, I can, but, like, do I want to? It's two different things. Like, so just kind of learning that for me. But again, that's where we're at different stations in life. So I'm a little bit more seasoned, as you put it.
Yeah, no, to his point too, like, I learned, like, one of the most important things I learned about myself was because right after I got done playing, kind of like E was saying that, you know, like, I thought I needed to keep playing, and so I had one teammate who was doing this, like, church league, and so I knew him, and I knew one dude from high school, and then everybody else was random, and I realized how much I hated playing with people who didn't care as much about basketball. You know what I mean? Because you're used to, in college, everybody cares. Everybody's driven and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden go in this church league where people are just having fun. I'm like, this is stupid.
Right.
So it's like, I have no, like, I get asked a year, do I want to play? And I'm just like, no, like, I don't want to waste my time with people who don't care that much about basketball. I think that's why coaching's huge, because you know, it's the same business as being an athlete. You know, you're coaching kids who care about it, and that's the way, kind of like, to the power of no is what I learned about myself. And because I'd never been in that situation where in the middle of a game I'm just like, what am I doing here? This is ridiculous. Like, that dude just did a hook shot. Like, what is he doing? Like, what is this? Is it too much to go tell him that? Like, no. So it's just, yeah, I feel you on that one.
Right. He said, what is he doing? But we're catching up on time. So I got one last question for each of y'all. Well, for Pat and Sam, because he already shared last episode. Actually, no, you can drop some more wisdom, man. They need all of it that they can get. So my question for y'all, no, not really a question, it is a question, my bad. What is the biggest piece of advice y'all would give my viewers? Anybody want to take the challenge first?
What's the question?
What is the biggest piece of advice, life advice, or any advice that you would give my viewers?
What do you think, Pat?
Like, this is a deep philosophical.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
all right. Let me respin the question. What's the most recent lesson you've learned?
Okay.
You mean like spontaneous lessons?
I'll say that one that I learned.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, all right.
One thing I learned recently was don't live with people that you don't know or trust already. I went through a situation with a third roommate who I didn't know prior, and it turned out how it probably should have. But yeah, live with people that you trust and know at least already.
That's the big thing I talk about. It's interesting. He's over there thinking hard.
Well, cause I'm just like, there's so many. I don't know, cause there's so many different. I had a. All right, I guess outside of like me talking about like the power of like no, because I was just thinking about that yesterday. But honestly, man, like learn how to speak your mind respectfully. You know what I'm saying? Like, because and I think there's a difference between those two things. Like, just kind of blurting out whatever you think. But this kind of falls back in line with like setting boundaries, because like you can. People determine like kind of how they treat you based on like your interactions with them, right? So like if you're constantly kind of just letting people like just slip little jabs or say whatever they want to say without you giving a response to it, like that kind of sets the tone for what your relationship is. But then when you personally decide to like really speak up and voice your opinion, it becomes very shocking to them, and they're like, oh, you changed. And it's like, no, I wasn't really speaking my mind the whole time. I was just kind of letting you. Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is don't dim your light for other people. That's what I mean to say. It's like, just be who you are at all times, man, unapologetically. Like, you know, don't try and mirror somebody else's behavior towards you. None of that, because you want them to accept you or like you. Like, the people that are meant to be around you will be around you, but that can't happen until you are true with yourself. Boom. There we go.
Boom.
Totally. No, and I guess my piece of advice would be a little bit of a piggyback off that is, you know, don't, because we all like freedom and being ourselves. You know, that's the ideal thing for everybody. And if you let somebody else dictate what you are and what you're saying or how you're reacting to a situation, you're not free. You know what I mean? And you're kind of just not being yourself. And the most important thing is just being comfortable and content with what you are and where you are and what you have to say. And trust what you have to say and just keep learning, I guess.
Right. That's the biggest thing. Keep learning. Love it, man. Appreciate each and every one of y'all for coming on. Thank you for your guys' time.
Anytime.
Oh yeah, no problem, man.
This was great for sure, for sure. But let me do my little closing for my people. Hey, if y'all need a positive friend, text me podcast to 480-571-7347. The number will be in the description. Sam, do you have any shows coming up soon?
When are you going to put this out?
I'm going to put it out on Friday. On Friday, the 21st of August.
Okay. So, yeah, that night, at midnight, I'm on a show at Eulaland which is off of Burnside in Portland. Yeah, there's other ones. I'm in September. I've got. I'll send you some dates you can put in the description. I'm terrible at remembering this stuff.
Perfect. I'll throw some dates in that description. Come catch me, Patty, in action. Coach, when do we start? November?
Dude, we start practice in October. I don't know about the games. I'm worried about practice. I'm talking about practice.
Man, you got the reverse AI out here. I'm talking about practice. That's the coaching side.
I am talking about practice.
That's right.
And y'all, make sure you don't miss the Exert Lifestyle launch coming this Monday. What's the date of that Monday?
I do not know.
I got my calendar. See, the power of the phone. Coach Pat, your home phone couldn't do this.
That's all right. That's all right. When Monday rolls around, it'll be that day all day long.
No, but make sure you don't miss the launch on Monday the 23rd. That will also be in the description, as always, I love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for coming on, for your time. And like my grandma said, man, keep going, keep growing. Love y'all.
Peace.
Peace.